What is good news for some is often bad news for others. So far, we've seen how John has been leading up to cosmic rejoicing over the fall of Rome in the heavenly court, and therefore also among the Christian faithful. But he also saw clearly that not everyone in the world would share in the celebrations. There were others, many others, who would greet Rome's destruction with sorrow and with lamentation. This would include not only the ruling classes, the emperors and the governing officials, but anyone with a stake in Rome's stability. In today's reading from Revelation, we'll see just who stood to lose from Rome's demise, and it just may hit close to home. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your Daily Devotional for Monday, November 22nd, 2021. Today's section from Revelation is a little too long for me to read the whole thing, so I encourage you to read it. I'll read a few excerpts to give you a flavor of it. In yesterday's reading, we heard an angel and a voice from heaven declaring, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great," and of course, Babylon is the stand-in for Rome. The declaration is that Rome's power is coming to an end. This at a time when Rome was at or near the height of its power. What John is doing, as we know, is pulling aside the curtain and showing the Christians what is happening in heaven, actions that will one day result in Rome's demise. This is what the word apocalypse means, not the end of the world as we know it, but a revealing of things in heaven. Now John gives us a vision of what the reaction on earth will be when Rome ultimately falls. Again, I'm going to read just a portion of it to give you a sense of the whole. "And the kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived in luxury with her will weep and wail over her when they see the smoke of her burning. They will stand far off in fear of her torment and say, 'Alas, alas, the great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come.' And the merchants of the earth weep and mourn for her, since no one buys their cargo anymore. Cargo of gold, silver, jewels and pearls, fine linen, purple, silk and scarlet, all kinds of scented wood, all articles of ivory, all articles of costly wood, bronze, iron, and marble, cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, olive oil, choice flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, slaves, and human lives. The merchants of these wares, who gained wealth from her, will stand far off in fear of her torment, weeping and mourning aloud. And all shipmasters and seafarers, sailors, and all whose trade is on the sea, stood far off and cried out as they saw the smoke of her burning." You can see where John is going with all this. The fall of Rome would mean not only release on the part of the Christian community from persecution, it would also bring with it enormous economic disruption. Roman power was much more than political and military power, after all. Roman power was economic power. As well as we all know even today, commerce depends in large measure on political stability and on laws that don't change too much. But as John indicates here, there can be a dark underside to economic power and commerce. It can, under some circumstances, become its own source of human misery for those who are outside and at the margins. Those who would mourn Rome's demise are those with a direct stake in Rome's existence and power, kings of dependent nations, but also merchants, and especially merchants of luxury items, and curiously, even sailors and sea captains and those who owned the ships and the ports. Rome's demise would be a disaster for all of them, for the markets for their goods would cease to exist. Take note of the kinds of things John mentions in the list of goods being traded by these merchants. They are luxury goods. They are even human beings, human cargo. And yet, in the very next portion of Revelation 18, we read, "Rejoice over her, O heaven, you saints and apostles and prophets, for God has given judgment for you against her." Then a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, "With such violence Babylon the great city will be thrown down and will be found no more." Is John against economic prosperity? No way to know, but surely John knew that trading goods and services was a fundamental part of any and every society. What John decries here is not all economic activity, but that which causes human suffering and which benefits the very few at the expense of the many. For John's audience, part of Rome's oppressive power was not only the power to punish with the sword, it was the power to inflict economic suffering. And so, the fall of Rome would mean huge economic disruption, which would be a source of rejoicing in the heavens and among Christians. When we return tomorrow, we'll hear the great hallelujah in heaven over Rome's demise. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.